Hi everybody, Chef Norman Van Aken here, back with the Treasure Book series, and this is a fun one, and it's so informational in the midst of all that fun. It's called Smoke and Pickles by Chef Edward Lee, Recipes and Stories from Southern Kitchen, a new Southern Kitchen, and boy, is that the truth. Look at this quote here by our friend Anthony Bourdain. Anthony didn't say things he didn't mean. I've had the pleasure to get to know Edward pretty well over the course of the last years. How many years has it been? But I didn't know him when this book came out. Not really, no. We might have done an event together. And this book came out in 2013. And you know from Jump Street that is a different kind of expression with Edward. And I love that about him. Backing up for a second, Edward was born somewhere in New York, and Korean family. I believe Edward was born in the U.S., but his mother and grandmother and grandfather and all, I believe, were born in Korea. It was Korean food that he was eating at home. From the earliest age, he was having Korean food. But like so many people in the immigrant American story, side by side, they were experiencing the food of the vastness of America. And that creates a dynamic that makes so many cookbooks compelling to me. Edward's table of contents gives you a quick clue that this is not your ordinary soups, appetizers, salads, entrees. Titles: Lamb and Whistles, Cows and Clover, Birds and Bluegrass, Seafood and Scrutiny, Pickles and Matrimony, Bourbon and Bar Snacks. Well, we'll be certainly visiting that one soon. I'm sure Edward would approve. Edward is a great writer as well as a great chef, and his cookbook shows that. He was like me, I'm sure. He was a searcher. He didn't think I'm going to be a chef when I grow up. He was probably thinking he was going to be a writer or maybe a skateboarder, or maybe he was doing graffiti. He says graffiti was my first cuisine. And then he adds on here, and these are my yellow highlighters, of course, because I feel it's totally fine to mark up your own cookbooks. I write in the margins, I highlight, I do what I need to do to have a kind of way of holding on to the information that I feel is so very valuable, and I feel it's valuable for the people who come and work in my kitchens. He says, I seek impermanence. I moved to Louisville in 2003. I had to reinvent my identity, both culinary and personal, through the lens of tobacco and bourbon and sorghum and horse racing and country ham. The first time I tried buttermilk, I threw it out because I thought it was sour. It was a revelation to learn that you use it because it is sour. Again, like me, when I got to Key West, I was a Midwesterner by birth. This was very new to me. So you don't take things for granted when you come to a new territory. You get shook up by the newness of it. Let's start with the foundation, the fundamental zen of the Asian table, of the bowl of rice that accompanied every meal of my childhood, steamy, chewy, sweet, and comforting. I know memories are supposed to start at age 4 or 5, but I swear I can close my eyes and relive the comfort of those warm bundles of starchy goodness being coaxed into my toothless mouth. Another reason to buy the books is the information. This is an entire page on miso. And that's something I didn't grow up with, miso. But in seeking to become the best chef that I can be, all these books have so much to do with my personal journey. Edward's book is a treasure book because he brings into the consciousness the fusion between an American transplanted to Kentucky, ancestral beginnings in Korea, and bring it all together in one delicious, very entertaining, very doable book. Wouldn't you love to have some bourbon ginger glazed carrots? Beautiful full color photography like this. Again, I'm not paid by thrift books at all, but I heartily recommend them or some other place to get books like that and you're going to find this book online for probably $10, something like that, less than the bourbon. Edward, you are a jewel, and you are a treasure to all of us in America and beyond who love good cooking. And I can't wait for us to get together and do some of that again very soon. All right, everyone. Treasure book, Smoke and Pickles by Chef Edward Lee. I'm Norman Van Aken, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.